Yo, man.
Bro Hamilton, what's going down? King of Brosifa.
Yeah. It's going down. Chilling, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing real good, bro. Just
Well, I'm glad to
relaxing,
hear it.
maxing. Living the dream of a king.
Yes, sir. How's your fish
What you
tank
up to
coming, bro?
today? Oh, good, man.
Um,
I think I'm going to take the saltwater tank down. Yep, you heard it
sorry
here
about
first,
that.
ladies and gentlemen.
What'd you say? I'm sorry. I just connected my Bluetooth headphones and I cut you off a little bit.
It's all good. I said that I think I'm gonna take my saltwater tank down.
Yes, you've been telling me about that, bro.
Yeah, I think that here in the near future, it's going to be time to take that one down and rehome some of the invertebrates and then bring the 55-gallon possibly out to the living room and give that the TLC that it's been missing, and then start
Yeah.
another reef project later.
Yeah, that'd be dope. I had to ask about the fish tanks. I'm always over there staring at it when I'm over, checking out for
Yeah,
all
dude,
your cephalopods and shit.
it's doing really good, man. It's actually like in a really healthy position, and I really that's the only reason why I don't want to take it down. I just kind of want to do a larger system than that one, or do a different system than that one. So kind of been up in the air about like what should I do? Should I like take it down or leave it up and continue working? So I'm kind of in the middle, but I've been thinking more and more lately that I could take it down and then do more with my 55 gallon that's in my room. It's a bigger display, so it should be on display, I feel.
Yeah, for sure. No, it's a dope tank. Yeah, I even been
Thanks,
telling
man.
the wife that I want to get a tank going up in the house too. Maybe you could help me out with that one day. But yeah, it's just a
Of
good
course,
it's a
man.
good ambiance in the room. Like it just brings a nice little like what is it, the feng shui? You know what I'm saying?
The feng shui, the feng
Feng
shui.
shui. Yeah,
You think you're bad boys too? The feng shui, the feng shui.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, dude. It's kind of funny with fish tanks, man. They have like a therapeutic quality, right? So they're good for stress. They're good for
Oh yeah,
anxiety. They're good to see a life cycle and to see animals live and how an ecosystem survives. But the calming factor is, I mean, second to none. And I mean, that's why most hospitals and places like that, care facilities have a fish tank, because they've noticed that it does kind of help the patients, and people are a little more calmer to watch the environment. So I think that is another reason why I love my tanks, is it kind of has that zen quality to it as well.
absolutely. That's why I want one for sure.
Oh yeah, you're a zen dude. Like that's your vibe. That's like your whole thing. That'll set it off, bro.
Yeah. So I have some pretty cool news though. Speaking of
Yeah,
the
hit me.
Zen and the calming. So I went in I talked to this dude today, right?
Hmm.
He's a mutual acquaintance of one of my friends. Um, we'd always been kind of in contact, but never really spoke in person. And he started talking to me about all that spiritual stuff. I kind of dabble in it, would play with it a little bit. Um, Starting to take it a little bit more seriously here and there, but that really calming perspective of it is actually something that I'm really into. You know what I'm saying? Like there's something to be said about being able to handle your environment and be one with it. You know what I'm saying? Like it just makes
Right,
a lot of
right,
other things seem a lot less important.
right.
So anyway,
Agreed.
he tells me that he's got some connections with a group in Sonora, Mexico, in Hermosillo. I don't think they're established in Hermosillo, Mexico, but I think they bounce around in Mexico and actually come up into Tucson and Nogales and do it in all these different places. But they have an ayahuasca ceremony. And
Really?
yeah, and I was very skeptical at first. He had talked to me about it for 2 3 months, and I was like, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of a big undertaking. You know what I'm saying? Especially when you don't know like how legit people are. Like maybe
Right.
these people could be taking advantage of people or something like that.
Yeah,
But today I
definitely.
actually, yeah, I just went and talked to him today, and really, really awesome dude. Very cool man. Um, older Mexican gentleman. He's on dialysis, waiting for a kidney transplant. Has a lot of things going on in his life, but he's just looking for some healing. And he introduced me to this group, and I was like, okay, like I think that might be what's up. Like, let's go check it out. And this is something that I'm into the psychedelic world
Right.
and all that stuff. So um, I decided to go check it out. So there's going to be a ceremony probably in the next week, I would say. I think it's next Saturday, and I'm going to go check it out. So I should be reporting back with the experience and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm pretty excited. I'm pretty nervous, and I'm just like tripping a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Like it's kind of a nervous thing because I'm
That's
going down to
dope.
Mexico by myself to
So
have this
let me
like little
ask.
experience. Yeah.
So it's gonna be your ceremony that you're going down for?
No, no. So there's a group. The way he explained it to me, there's about a group of like 20 core people that have been
Mm-hmm.
doing it for the duration of the organization's time. So it's been about
Mm-hmm.
11 years that this organization has been doing that with certified shamans and facilitators and Reiki specialists and things like that. So there's about 20 core people who have been in the main group for a while. And
Mm-hmm.
then outside of that, they invite people, and that's kind of where um, you know people learn about it. So basically, the people vouch for you. You know what I'm saying, and you get first dibs on kind of the spots available for the ceremony. So this man that I met has been in the ceremony about 5 times. So he's basically bringing me along as his guest. Um,
Interesting. So
yeah.
in this ceremony, are you participating in the ceremony, or are you just a observer of the ceremony at this point?
So initially, I wanted to just observe, um, just to kind of see if I'm with it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But it's kind of after talking to him, I feel a lot more comfortable. I feel like it's going to be. I feel like it's kind of calling me to do it, and I think I'm ready for it. So I'm going to be participating with it. It's like stick your toes in the water or just jump in. You know what I'm saying? So I'm
Right.
just jumping in. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But it
Nice.
should be a good time. Like I said, nervous as hell, but
I mean, I'm excited for you because I mean that's your jam, dude. It's kind of interesting. Maybe you can take our little buddy with you after you get established in the group. That'd be hilarious. But I
yeah.
hope it's awesome. Is that gonna be like next weekend?
Yeah, it's next Saturday.
Dope,
So
dude. Dope.
yeah, I'm pretty
How
excited
long
about it.
is the ceremonies?
The way he explained it, you basically fast all day Saturday, um, and you meet with the group, and they do like uh, individual interviews with people to kind of gauge your mental state and like how much they should actually give you, because that's one of the big things is like, hey, do we give you the full dose, or are we taking baby steps with you because maybe you're unsure, or maybe you're on medications that we don't know about. These are all factors that you have to take into consideration because um, you know it's
Right.
people have died taking ayahuasca because they were untrue about like the actual medications that they had, and it came in conflict with the chemical. And that's not something anybody wants to happen. So I think just based on my conversation, like they're taking it pretty seriously. But I kind of forgot your question where I was going with that. But
I was just asking like or I'm just curious to like what the actual ceremony entails and what you're going to
Oh
be,
yeah, right.
you know what I
Yeah,
mean,
so
like
it
doing.
yeah, you basically fast all day, like I said. At midnight on Saturday, they offer you the uh, the drink, which is basically like a brew that they've concocted. Um, and what they do is they will play what's called musica medicina, which is medicine music, and they start playing that all through the whole night, and uh, that goes until the morning. So that from what he said, they play for about 7, 8 hours straight until 9 in the morning. And if you need assistance during this time, they have facilitators who are there to help you with anything that's going wrong, going down. It's not uncommon for people to throw up uh, and to actually like shit themselves. It's basically cleanse you. It purifies you. It's a it's an all-in-one soul cleanser, I guess. So it's pretty intense sounding the way it sounds. And to top it off, I think in the morning once the sun rises, they do a Bufo alvarius 5-MeO DMT ceremony, which is another just it's probably the most intense psychedelic there is. Uh, but you can choose to do that or not to do that during the morning time. But it all depends on the time frame and everything like that. So, but that's the basic breakdown of it.
So the comedian me wants to know if you've done your research to make sure that this is not a cult.
Um, no, I haven't looked into it that much. It could very well be a cult, but I don't know.
Sweet,
It's just
sweet.
it's one of those things where it's like, you know what? This is kind of the thing that excites me, right? The the unknown, the things that like this could happen so many different ways. Like this could be very bad. I'm going to Mexico. I'm going to be a group of people I've never met before. Like this could be all very, very bad. This could be a horror movie in the making. I don't know, but I'm like, fuck it, let's do it. You know what I'm saying?
Well, please keep your cell phone on you and,
Absolutely.
your tracking device on so we can find you. Because I
Yep.
don't want to have to give this episode over to the police because it is the last recording of Tony. Okay.
Yes.
And because you just went down there and you just joined Heaven's Gate. Okay.
The Mexican Manson, you know.
Yeah, the Mexican Heaven's Gate, bro. I don't need to get a call from your wife, bro. And she's like, "Yo, have you heard from Tony?" I'm like, "Nah, man. Like, I thought he was still in Mexico." She was like, "Nah, man. He's supposed to come back."
Nah, they be
Yeah.
putting all kind of burritos in his ass.
I mean, dog, please don't have burritos in your ass, man. I mean, if you
But
are, make them voluntary.
yeah. No, I don't need no burritos up in my booty hole. But I guess
So,
on to some more lighter material.
What up, y'all? Let me tell you about another product I really like. This new thing I just found called Tappy. If you're an artist, if you're a business person, if you're anybody with anything that you want to share with people, maybe you're a designer, get this. It's a new business card. It's electronic, no paper, no thousands of cards in your pocket, just one. Anytime anybody asks, hey, what do you do, man? Pull it out, tap it on their phone, all the information's right there. Tappy. Go to our website at the realnessradiopodcast.com. Go all the way to the bottom and look at Tappy. Press get one and you can order yours right now. Trust me, it's something you're interested in. Tappy.
Um,
I do have a question for you,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
um, involving your health. See, I see
yeah.
you're active again. Does that mean you are now a survivor of the Rona? Are you now Rona free, or
Dude,
how
I'm
are
totally
you?
a survivor. Yeah, it's really weird. Again, it's lingering like crazy. There's like today, like right now, I have a ton of energy. I'm feeling good, but I am kind of a night owl. I don't know if that has
Hmm.
any significance, but like mornings are super hard. I just don't have energy. This cough that I got is going away. But all in all, I'm like super stoked about having passed it and not, I'm out of the danger zone, I feel like. But
Right.
a few
So
things happened.
are you testing clean now, I guess to say?
Yeah,
Testing
last
non-positive?
Monday, so last Monday I tested negative. But I'm going to take one more test tomorrow just to ensure that I can get back to work and stuff. So
Right.
the overhead wants me to do all that.
Right.
But I think I'm in the clear. I think I'm fine. A few things that I've just been kind of worried about are the prolonged effects, I guess you could say,
Yeah, the
of you know,
possible
like lung scarring and I'm just not feeling 100% again. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
that's like my worry is that I'm gonna like have these prolonged effects, which many people purport to have. Um, on the brighter side, I do feel like it's an opportunity for me to like maybe help out some people because I do have the antibodies in my blood, so I could, you know, not adopt, uh, give some plasma. You know what I'm saying, for
Right.
people who are in the hospital, stuff like that.
Right.
So those are kind of the few things that I'm thinking about now. So I'd like to do that.
Okay. That's awesome.
But yeah,
I'm
yeah,
glad you're feeling better and I'm glad you're on the other side of it. And
yeah, for sure.
I just wanted to make sure not make sure, but I wanted to re-bring that up since we talked about it in the last podcast, so any of the listeners know that you're up and doing well and feeling good.
Yeah, yeah,
And
for sure. I
that's it.
appreciate it. Yeah,
Absolutely,
no, because
man.
I was listening to that last episode, and I could really tell. Like, I couldn't tell that day that we were shooting that episode that I had felt like shit, but I sound like shit. Like I sound sick on that episode. You know what I'm saying? I was
And
listening to it, and I was like, wow.
it's funny, I didn't really notice. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Maybe energy wise or something, but I didn't really notice it because you seemed, you know what I mean? You seemed pretty spry, if you
Yeah,
will.
chipper. Like, it's probably because
Yeah.
I don't get a lot of human contact over the last 2.5 weeks. Like, I'm actually pretty excited to be able to be talking to people and shit. You know?
Well, hey, I'm glad to be your human buddy.
Hell yeah, buddy.
So you were saying you had some lighter news you were going to jump into.
Well, yeah, man. I mean, like, what's been going on in the world? Did you get that China scannable QR code that I sent you? Is that some trippy stuff or what?
Oh, yo. Well, this is the thing, okay, man. China, Japan, Seoul, South Korea, because we don't know about North. Those motherfuckers do it a different level when it comes to technology, man.
They
When it
do.
comes to their ability to get information out to them, I mean the information that they want to go out, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Or do things on a grand technological scale. Bro, it's excuse me, it's unparalleled in some way. So like even just a photo, because I'm looking at the photo right now. And
Right.
for the listeners, I'll kind of describe it. Um, they in China they put up a bunch of drones, and they made the drones light up so where it's an actual scannable QR code in the air that if you scanned it, you can download a video game. And I mean, it's over a city that like if you look at the colors of the buildings, the technology that it took to make those buildings, the shape of them, the design, you're just like, dude, are they just in the future?
They are.
I feel like they
Yeah,
are,
and
man. They're just in the future.
I mean, they just concentrated their energies towards that. You know what I'm saying? Like, where we have a little bit, but our energies go into, I would say, different things. I don't know, but they're like full force progressive into technology.
Yeah, we would never do that. And I was talking about this to somebody else, and you really notice it when it comes to I'm a big fan of architecture, right? And
Right.
buildings and interior design. And when you go overseas, you see that the architecture is a lot more daring. You know what I mean? They'll make a building that seems like physically it wouldn't be able to be held up, but it does because it was designed to do that. You know what I mean? So many just different things, the shapes and sizes, they're just much more daring with their architecture.
Don't they have a
Where
building that like rotates, like the whole
Yeah,
thing rotates or something? Like, how does
well,
that even work?
there's one overseas that's like a big, almost like an L. There, I look at a bunch of them on Instagram. There's a bunch of these buildings that are just, I mean, they're just gorgeous tall buildings that you would not see from American approved architecture, right? Architecture designs, right? Because I can only think of a few things in America that are like, whoa, that's like maybe like four that I can think
Hmm.
of that are like, but none of them are like, oh man, that's like a forward thinking cool design. It's just like they built I forgot, I think it's in Thailand, that monk that
Hmm.
they built that's like 100 times bigger than the Eiffel Tower or something. Like it's just like a god awful sized monk. Like it's
Yeah, I think
dope.
I've heard of it. It's where they all pilgrimage to, right?
Yeah, and then the thing that I put in this group text a while back ago was China made or Japan made that giant Gundam that's the size of like 16 stories and it like
Yeah.
gets up and moves. Like they've got giant
Yes, the robot. The robot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a robot that's just in the middle of the city and it actually moves and it's like 16 stories tall. They're
And
making
even
giant.
just their robot wars. Don't they have like the little mech, like electronic mech robot wars? And some of these
Yeah.
things are just phenomenal. Like some are speedy and some are just pure brute and some are like I don't know, it's
Well,
just wild.
well, they just seem to do it on a whole nother level. You know what I'm saying? They just seem to do it on another level where like they got giant robots and we what do we got, dude? I mean, they like redid the 9/11 center where the Eiffel Towers were, and it's like that thing's cool. Like
Yeah.
it's cool.
Uh, a bunch of people died here.
Yeah, like that thing's cool. And we got like the Statue of Liberty, but it's like that was made by the French, so we can't really claim that.
Yeah,
Sears
it's almost
Tower.
like we have it's almost like we have like these obscure architectural artists that do really cool shit in like random like all these big cities, random cities, and you don't like know about it unless you watch a documentary about it. You know what I'm saying? It's not like we place emphasis on our architecture.
No, and one of the, like our most famous skylines is like a Chicago skyline, but like look at like Singapore or China where this picture was taken or other places, it's just like their skylines are crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Those buildings are crazy. The colors that they splash on them. I mean, and they're just those yo, the Far East is living in the future.
Yeah, for sure.
They're just living in the future, and we are back here in the Stone Age, and we're like, "Have you seen my beautiful brick building? It's made out of regular red bricks. Have you ever seen that before? Are you shocked?"
And somebody spray painted it on the side.
Yeah, because
It's
I don't know,
beautiful.
we like put 1,000 of these. It's beautiful. Check it out.
Yeah.
We like to call it the Big Apple.
See, architecture, we should put more emphasis on that because, like, you look at all these old archaeological digs and sites where they're, finding all this stuff from like 40,000 years ago, 20,000 years ago, like amazing things like monoliths that, like, we don't even know how they made it. And it's baffling us. And it's like, why,
Yeah, but like,
now we're just
have
putting up
you?
Starbucks and McDonald's everywhere.
Yeah, dude. I mean, and they'll just like redesign that McDonald's every 5 years or the Taco Bell or whatever every 5 years. Nothing special.
Hey,
And it's never.
have you seen the new EG's design on the south side that they're putting up?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's right by the old stomping grounds because I was telling my mom about it. They're doing it
Yeah.
my favorite style, shipping container style.
Yeah, shipping container style, dude. That shit actually looks really cool.
That's my obsession, bro. Is shipping container homes. It's a really like
Yeah.
niche thing, but I mean, once you like get into it, they build some incredible stuff. Like just
Oh, yeah. Do you like?
incredible stuff.
Are you talking about like the mini home movement or just a home in general of shipping containers?
Well, I follow a lot of pages that do both. So some of them are like the mini home, but most of those are like vans builds that I follow.
Yeah.
You could do like a mini home in one. I thought about like, okay, if I had a space, a home where I had some space, I would do the mini shipping container home like rooms so people could just have their own little space.
Right.
But there's a lot of, I'm talking about like 6 bedroom homes that are made out of shipping containers or apartment complexes or businesses that are made out of shipping containers in bigger cities because it can fit between, in smaller places. I mean, the
Right.
architecture and the design in that space has gone leaps and bounds. I mean, leaps and bounds. But when it comes to like a larger brick and mortar type, building, at least here in America, we're stuck back in the 1970s, 1980s.
Right. No, yeah, I
What
really
is
love.
this? What is this thing you sent me of the sky folding? What is it? The this It looks like Independence Day spaceship thing you put on
Yeah.
there.
So it's not a page that I'm following on IG, but it's like a hashtag group that I follow for just hashtag UFO. And I mean, I posted another thing on Facebook of like this storm cell building up, and it just looks really gnarly and phenomenal, like a great like cloud picture with the backdrop of the sun on it. But this one in particular, like you said, it looks like some Independence Day shit. And I think we've even
Yep.
had this conversation before where it's just like, what do we do when the big fucking mothership emerges through the storm clouds over a giant city? You know what I'm saying? And like, that's what that reminds me of. And it does look very weird. For all we know, that mothership could be sitting in those clouds just waiting. You know what I'm saying? But I think it was just like a thunderhead with the sun behind it, and it looked really cool.
Well, you know what's funny is coincidentally, since we were talking about sightings and stuff recently in the news, that has really become a hot topic. That we're getting a lot of strange movement. We've got a lot of declassifications from the Pentagon, and so much
Yep.
worry that they have to actually brief Congress on this, which I believe they either are about to or just have. Um, I mean, it's kind of crazy that this occurrence is happening and it's such a phenomenon. And me and you spoke about this, when we were younger, in the early 90s, coming out of the 80s, when we were children, 7 8 years old, and we thought that aliens were going to come, or we would have made contact or have an understanding that they would be, from theoretical to actual physical. We thought there would be much more panic, and this has happened this year, and nobody really gives a fuck.
Yeah.
Like it trended on Twitter for like a day and a half, but nobody like really, really gave a fuck. You know what I mean? It was kind
I
of
mean,
funny.
it's almost like it's almost just like the public's like, well, we told you so. Like we've been seeing this for the last 60 years. Like we know. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
Like it could be a desensitization to it, but I also believe that like there's also nowhere else for the government to hide anymore. There's so much
right.
declassified information. There's so
So
much people coming out and talking about it that it's like hard to ignore anymore. But we all kind of speculated that all the
so
way.
that brings me to two questions of thought, right? The first one being, um, is it is it that we're seeing these things right now more frequently, and that's why they had to then declassify it? Or are we in an age where technology is so advanced for us that there's no way to hide it? And going back to what you said about people being kind of numb to the idea because of I guess, science fiction, fantasy, and most of the populace, at least here in America and in Europe, um, believing that we have seen things or been abducted, where we just more or less numb to the fact, because of science fiction and fantasy, um, in our television and popular culture, that when it's real, it doesn't seem as real until the shoe drops, like we talked about. I know that
Exactly.
was a
Yeah.
long
No.
sentence, but what do you think?
No. Yeah. I think. Okay. So I'll start with the first part where it's like the desensitization, where I think the mass majority of the public who is like sitting there watching the news is kind of indifferent about it and is seeing these things be like shown on the on TV. Like, yeah, we found this, infrared video of this UFO diving into the water, and people are like, wow, that's really crazy. I think that those people are desensitized to it, like the majority of people, but the people who have been screaming and shouting it are kind of like finding their day of reckoning a little bit. And it almost feels like we're on the cusp of something that's going to happen. You know what I'm saying? Like, it almost feels like we're on the cusp of like in the next 20 years, like we're going to know a lot more than we know now. Like there's going to
I agree.
be, there's going to be some like big thing that happens.
So
I
do
feel
you
like, I
feel
don't know.
like we're closer to that shoe drop moment then, and
Yeah.
maybe
Cause
in that going on?
once the shoe drops, I think people are going to lose their shit. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a sense of calm just being told about it, but like once the shoe drops, people are gonna lose their shit. Like it's gonna be
Now, is
weird. Like
that, do you think that's going to become because of declassification, or because more frequency in our own, um, atmosphere, or in the actual, air closer to
yeah,
our terra firma?
yeah. I don't know. That's the thing is I don't know that either. I don't know what it's gonna culminate to. I don't know if it's gonna culminate to actual, you know, uh, the whole world is viewing this ship over a city or something, or if it's just gonna be like aliens are like fish to us. You know what I'm saying? Like we just see them floating
Right.
around out in the sky all the time, and we're just kind of watching them, and they're there, and they're non-violent, obviously, but or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not sure how it's all gonna come together. It'd be dope. I think it'd
Right.
be pretty dope to actually witness some like world-changing event. But I hope I'm alive to see it actually.
Well, me too. I feel like with things happening, we are gonna have a better understanding, in the next 20 years of where we're gonna be at. Because even at that, me and you would only be 55. You know what I mean?
Oh
So
yeah.
we'd be older, but we wouldn't be old. So there's a lot of time for us to really learn what it could be. But I'm wondering if it is the the is it that we know that they're in our atmosphere or in our solar system, like the video that you sent me, that I can't say, none of us can say is not edited or something, but it's suspicious, where you can see what looks to be a craft dropping a smaller craft onto the moon. You know what I mean? Don't
Oh
know if
yes.
that's credible, or whether that's, something fantasy based, because we are in an age where we can do that. But is it more that we see more phenomenon like that, where we notice that they're in around our atmosphere, or right outside of our, space in between here and the moon? Or do they Independence Day and bring in the mothership?
Right. I don't know, but like, did you read the comments on that video?
So I did
Like,
read the comments. I did show it to a bunch of people, and it kind of spurred, a big conversation at work about,
yeah.
the idea of what that would mean. What did the comments say?
Okay, so it's exactly what we're talking about. It's like, bro, who gives a shit what that is? what kind of zoom do you have on your camera?
Yo, I
You know what
did.
I'm
Okay,
saying? Like,
never mind. I did see that. I did see that.
like people are more fascinated with the quality of the camera on the phone
And the
than the
video.
actual UFOs. You know what I'm saying? And it baffles me a little bit.
That is funny. I wonder if that's people being like me that are just kind of funny, or is
Yeah,
that legitimately what is in the zeitgeist of our world, where during the time that they
yeah,
declassified this, we were in the middle of being like Black Lives Matter, George Floyd, President Trump.
right.
Are we going to have global issues with other countries? We were so involved in other things that we didn't really have time to put any energy into oh, excuse me, the coronavirus, you know what I mean, and that whole pandemic. So I think that uh, I don't know if people had a lot of bandwidth to put it, hey, fucking aliens, you know what I mean? Were
Well,
we essentially
here's a
prepared, or did they
perspective.
know that?
Yeah. Well, here's a perspective too, and all the things that you just listed off are all pretty much divisive issues. You know what I'm saying?
Yep,
And I
yep,
think
every
a
one of
lot
them.
of people, I think people are more into the divisive issues where they can, stand on a soapbox and feel like they're morally superior or do whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, and say these things to
Agreed.
say, hey, I'm better than you. I have my opinion is better than yours, and this and that or whatever. But something like this is more of a unifier. Like we all
Yeah,
see it and we all know what's going on. And it can still be divisive in the sense that, oh, you think they're a threat and you think that they're not a threat. You know what I'm saying? But that's not
right.
really that important based on the bigger picture. So I don't know. Maybe us as humans, we're just caught up more in the wanting to argue about shit rather than like that kind of news
Find
that
out.
makes us all think the same. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know.
I would agree because that is kind of what they did learn in the last couple years, on the Facebook documentary and other things on the news about social media. Is people are way more engaged in things that tend to get them to argue than they are in the factual based information. And then
Right.
we saw that later proven with the coronavirus and a lot of the misleading information that was going on, back and forth, and information about masks. There was information, and then people refused and went to their corner because we were at such a heightened partisan point. So I
Right.
wonder, is it that, like, hey man, I am more concerned about this drama shit than the fact that I'm gonna have to unify to understand this bigger object, and we don't know whether that object is a threat, or like you said, is it just something like innocuous, and that's something that's just gonna be up there, and it's like, yeah, dude, they fly around up there, and but
Yeah.
we don't really ever have an issue with them, or are they going to try to contact us there, or there's so many things. But it does bring me to another question, because I never really got to ask you, what do you think
Mm.
of that video?
What, the moon one?
Yeah, the moon one. What do you think? Well, one, of its validity, do you think that it's possible, and or is that it's real or authentic, and if you do, what are your thoughts on what you saw?
Well, so as soon as I saw that video, I started looking up other videos about like astronaut stories. You know what I'm saying? Like people who have claimed to have been to the moon. And there's quite a few astronauts with, sightings of aliens and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like they have these experiences. And there's also a dark side of the moon, which we don't see. We don't go to when we do go to the moon. And we just don't see it. So I don't, and from the perspective of that video, like it looks like the ships or whatever they were on like the top. If you're looking at a clock, it was around like 10:30 where they were at the moon, but they could have been on the backside of the moon. You know what I'm saying? Like they could have been. I don't think they were on the front side. Um, but maybe they're like, it makes me think maybe there's some shit on the dark side of the moon where maybe they're landing, or but why would they want to fuck around with our moon? Maybe it's just kind of like a tree. You know what I'm saying? Like we're hiding behind a tree. They're just kind of chilling. I don't know. It's just too speculative to me, because to me they're more advanced than we could ever fathom, and the fact that they haven't blown our world up yet, you know what I'm saying, is just a testament to like we're a petri dish to them. That's what I think, but I don't know.
I well, if that's the fact that we're dealing with something that is way more advanced than us, if we do make that type of contact, ever, then yeah, we're ants to them,
Yeah,
or we're dogs, to them, or we're lesser beings, in that sense, where they probably wouldn't give a fuck about us, you know what I mean? Where they probably would only
we're not
pop
a
in
threat.
when we're not a threat, but they might pop in to just see how the science project's doing and keep it pushing.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And maybe we're at that moment in our history where they have made the comeback to check on us and see how the project is going and if the
right.
hypothesis is turned out. And
Yeah,
as far
it's
as the
like
video
it's
of the
like an
moon,
experiment. Sorry, go
yeah,
ahead,
it's
go ahead.
what we it's exactly what we would do in an experiment, right? So we would leave an experiment, we'd set these things into motion, let it happen, and then if they're a race of people, and all these things that we're saying, of course, is all speculative, but if they're a race of people that are longer lived than us, then or the time and space is, I mean, not even relevant to what we've got going on, then they might pop back in here and there, set the project, you know what I mean? Start baking that cake and come back a couple hours and check on it. And every once in a
Yeah,
while, see how it's grown. Like I would set up an enclosure for my fish tanks. You know what I mean?
right.
Set up an environment and then see how the experiment goes. I mean, it makes a lot more sense than not. You know what I mean? But as
Absolutely.
far as the video that's up there, you know what I mean? It's interesting. So, like you said, they're at about the 11 o'clock, 10:30 at best range. They're in the what seems to be, upper atmosphere, maybe mid to lower atmosphere of the moon. And then they're sending out a drop ship that is dropping some kind of what we would do, like a boarding craft or a landing craft to the planet or the moon,
Right.
shall we say. So I part of me wants to say, part of me, okay, this is how I feel. I want it to be real, right? I'm
Right. Yeah.
extremely skeptical. So me and you are both extremely skeptical people, and I watch a lot of science fiction nerd shit. That happens to be my jam. So like to make something that's short and sweet, somebody could make on the internet. But if
Yeah.
I personally want it to be real, because that just furthers the narrative that I think is happening, which means that we have beings that are either outside or come from inside our earth and are coming out and could just do things that we can't. We had a conversation
Right.
about old civilizations being, because of the way the earth is, them actually being under us, right? What
Hmm.
if that whole earth buried over thing, right? What if those people were still down there, right? Or their civilization is still down there, but it has been buried over. But that doesn't matter to them. They live in, one of the crust layers that we can't get down to, that is actually a hollow earth or whatever. And their civilization's been down there the whole time. And I'm watching,
Yeah.
so I think about this because I'm watching Stargate, like the movie SG-1 right now, the show, right? And
Yeah.
it's like their aliens are based on ancient Egypt. Well, what if down there below there is still the people who built the original pyramids? Because me and you know now from the science that the pyramids are older than the civilization that then inhabited them later? What if the original builders are down there in a subdermal layer of the crust that that was once part of the outer layer,
like a Middle Earth type scenario.
like literally like a Middle Earth, but not
And we
as
can't and we
bad.
can't and we can't detect it by any means. We don't have the technology to. That could very well be going on. I would happen to. I mean, I would think that it may be a very warm colony, but it would just. Yeah, I mean, I would like to think that as well. Like that, there's
Well,
some crazy shit.
to think about it like this is it would be warmer, but what if it's actually not below us as far as we would have predict, right? So
Right.
it's still like the Marianas Trench is one of the deepest spots that we know of in the ocean, and we've been able to have one submarine to go to the bottom, and we've done it a couple times. But what if they're just in and out of caverns and caves that are at that depth or maybe a little bit lower? So they're not really much lower than us, but it's still a depth that at our current technological level, we only know 10% of the earth or the ocean. So what we wouldn't know
Okay. So
nothing. We wouldn't know nothing.
have you heard about the door that was found at the bottom of the Mariana Trench or whatever by James Cameron filming? I think he did Titanic, right?
Well, he did Titanic, and I think that they used his ship and his cameras or something to go down there because I remember he was on a voyage down
Yeah,
there.
but I don't know if this is true or not. I just heard this in passing, but I've heard that they found a door down there and they didn't like nobody opened it. You couldn't obviously get out of the damn ship that they were in, but that has always intrigued me a little bit too. And also, so you're talking about going down deep into the earth and having a colony in there. And I'm also thinking about with this alien thing is the simulation. And if you've heard Elon Musk talk about the simulation theory and stuff like that, the
Right.
simulation is kind of a trip as well. And if you haven't watched the Amazon Prime documentary, I think it's called A Glitch in the Matrix, but super phenomenal documentary about simulation theory. And as far as like the aliens go, like it's almost like us playing the video games The Sims on a computer.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like we have that, and we can simulate life, and for all we know, those are conscious beings that aren't programmed very good. You know what I'm saying? And like that's what we could be, maybe to aliens or just
It's the Truman
somebody
Show, man.
somebody tapping on our somebody tapping on their fishbowl on a super realm that we are totally unaware of, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's the Truman Show. You know that idea that we don't know if we're in a simulation is very real. You know, we have no
Yeah,
conception of knowing that. We can only use so much of our brains. We have no idea. We wouldn't be able to know because we don't know what happens before our existence and we don't know what happens after. So without that question being answered, you know, when you're playing 007 and your character dies, does he know that he died? You know, he just started over. You know what I mean? He doesn't
yeah,
know what happened in between. The same thing
yeah.
with like the science fiction HBO show Westworld, where the robots are, you know, they look real and you can murder them, but the next
Oh,
day they're going to
Westworld
be
was
back out
crazy.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're going to be back out there doing the same thing that they were programmed to do. We would never know. So at the end of life, you die, you come back, and you're another character. Would you know? No, because we would
Mm-mm.
know. We would never know the in between time. So those are some valid questions. So I want to jump back to the ocean thing right quick because a couple things that were popping in my head about that. The ocean, because it's so far down there, is so fucking dark that we can only scan it in some ways, right? And we use
Right.
like echolocation and things to kind of map it, and like try to do 3D mapping, but we can't see shit down there. So if
Mm-mm.
things are in the water column, we don't know if they could evade are whatever. We just don't know, right?
Right.
Excuse me. And something popped into my head listening to the YouTube channel Mr. Ballin that we both have talked about. When divers jump out of the submarines and stuff, and they're down there at such low depths, and they walk out, and they have to like take a piss or something, and something touches them, and they don't know because it's pitch black. They don't know what it
Yeah.
is or what's down there. They know that it's something that seems like it's got some size to it, but you're never gonna know. And they said that they've seen objects and like groupers and stuff come in and out of the light. Like you just do not know. And I think that pops into my head a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, I think, and we've talked about this before, as far as like where people get their mythologies from, right? So like where do
Yep.
dragons come from in the human psyche? Like where does this, you know, uh, where does this giant squid in the ocean that we've all heard so much about come from? It's like when you're placed in those situations where you don't have all your senses about you. You don't have your full sight. You probably don't have your full hearing, especially if you're in a sub-aquatic environment. You know what I'm saying? You're
Right.
using your sight as best as you can, and you're feeling the force of something that maybe brushes up against you, and it's like it can kind of create something uh, to a larger magnitude, also. But I think that some of these experiences may be over exaggerated, but I think some of these experiences are very, very true. You know, they're fewer and far between, but they're there, and we don't know what's down there. Like Bigfoot, for instance. Like there's a lot of there's a lot of evidence for Bigfoot. You know what I'm saying? Like there's too much evidence for Bigfoot, but
Well, that's
like
the thing. It
how do
it
we
goes with
process
what
that?
well, it goes with what you're saying, and what we've talked about, off mic is like we these stories do have to come from somewhere, right?
Yeah.
And watching that same show that I just mentioned, there's that book Missing 411, which I've now listened to a million stories of, and
Hmm.
somewhere in the mid to northwest, there's a lot of unexplained disappearances, and they've gone back and forth, and there's these cases are still don't have reasonable explanation of why people go missing in these circumstances. So it could be Bigfoot, it could be aliens, it could be both. We don't know. We
You
just
don't
don't
fucking
know.
know.
But there's enough of these cases to say, hey, there's something odd about these circumstances, and we can't explain it. People are disappearing in this area, or they're disappearing and coming back, but they're traveling distance that would have been in the time frame. So that's crazy, right?
Yeah, super insane. I love it all. I love it all. It's fucking. It makes my palms itch wanting to know about these things.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's the curiosity in me that makes me want to know more about.
Absolutely.
But I mean, we are the kind of monkeys that do want to know what's beyond the stars. We've always yearned to know more. And so who knows? Like what if these beings are just beings that were just able to use 30% of their brain? You know what I mean? Just a
Yeah.
fraction, and so many of these things go back and forth, but I mean, I thought it was kind of funny after our most recent conversation that these things are becoming more frequent and starting to
More
trend,
prevalent.
um,
Yeah.
and being in popular culture. They're like, oh man, aliens are here.
Hmm. I just want to. I don't know. I'm leaning after seeing the documentary that I saw, the Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind. I'm leaning more towards a thought of them as a more like peaceful or just more observant group of beings that are just witnessing us. Like I can't see them being detrimental to us, and it all and that then it even brings up the fact is like, how the fuck did they get themselves in the mess of like Roswell? Like, how did you crash land, you dumb motherfucking alien? Like, how did you even let yourself be known? But they obviously want themselves to be known. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it's gonna come to a head, I think.
Well, it opens up the question of, were those the same group of people? Were
Yeah.
those the same aliens, or were there different aliens? Are the aliens that we're seeing the same in the atmosphere, the same ones that we are speculating do strange things on Earth?
Hmm.
Are those the same occurrences, and do they want us to know? There's been so many stories of abductions over the years. They seem to have a better idea about us than we do of them, but have us as the monkeys on this planet got a little too crazy with our nuclear power, and now we're a threat, or they just seeing how it's gonna go.
Yeah, they're it's almost like they're keeping us at bay too with the nuclear power because it from some of these documentaries that I've seen is like every time we attempt to put a nuclear device into space, it gets disarmed. And I don't know how many times we've done that. I don't think it's numerable. I think it's probably fairly low, but um, anytime anyone's tried to do that, it's been disarmed. And that's kind of just based off what I've seen on the documentary. But
Well, it's funny. I was watching a documentary style top tens video at work the other day that we were listening to, and it was talking about strange things that are in our space overall. And there is a star on the other side of the universe, that's kind of like a planet, or what we assume would be something like ours, ours,
yeah,
but something is blocking it. Something is blocking us, is
yeah,
actively blocking us from seeing it.
yeah. No, I've heard of this. It's like an object that
Yeah,
we don't
so
know what the fuck it is. It's like the Death
we
Star
don't,
or something.
yeah, we
Like it's
don't
like
know what it
it's like a.
is.
Oh yeah.
And every time we try to look at it, something is actively blocking us from being able to look at it. So ain't that a bitch, right?
Yeah, dude, that's
Something is
it's really
like,
true.
we don't want you to know what or who we are, or be able to see us. Also, I want to bring this up because I was talking about this at work. There is spaces in space where there's voids, where there's no
Uh-huh.
stars, no planets, no nothing. It's not a black
Well, that's
hole.
most of
It's not a
space.
quasar. It's just nothing. Actually,
Yeah.
actually, space is quite busy. There's actually just spaces where there's nothing.
Not
And
a
we
goddamn
just
thing. There's
so
not a
quick,
star in sight. There's not nothing. You like it's complete
nothing.
pitch blackness, cold, dead vacuum of space. Like that is bizarre to me. That
And
blows my mind.
and the section of space that our universe is inside of a void. We are
Wait,
in
wait,
one of those void spaces, not a very large
wait.
one.
Are you talking about our universe as the Milky Way is in that void?
The Milky Way galaxy and everything that surrounds us, our neighboring galaxies, are inside
Mhm.
of a void. We're in one of those void spaces, where outside of those voids is a lot more stars and shit. We're not in a very large void, but we're in a
Yeah.
void.
Huh, I'll have to look into this. I haven't heard about this yet.
Yeah, ain't that a bitch?
Yeah, no, it's kind of crazy. I mean, it's just weird how everything is so stable. Like it almost just feels like at any moment something could just knock the world off kilter and we would all just perish like in an instant. You know what I'm saying? Like
Well,
it
they
does make
they
you think
said
about like why is it so stable? Why are we here on this stable ass planet?
well, why is it so perfect? And come to find out that there's actually planets out there that are more perfect than our planet, that are more
Yeah,
hospitable, for our human life species. So,
They're in the
so
Goldilocks zone. Yeah.
yep, we are in the Goldilocks, and there's a few that are even in a better Goldilocks than we are. I don't know.
And
I mean,
and that's why it's like,
right?
hey, like there's got to be probability alone says there's at least one other planet like ours, whether it's whether it's uh, post, uh, evolved or pre-evolved compared to us. There's a
I'd say,
hundred
I say,
billion
I say that
galaxies.
I'd say the probability's got to be even higher than that because
It's
you're right.
I know I'm
We're
saying at
a
the very
hundred.
minimum. You know what I'm saying? There's got to be at least one more.
Yeah, at the very minimum. So there's theories, right? And I was talking about this at work that we are either, so if our thoughts, right, that we are
Mhm.
one or two of the species in the entire solar system that are smart, the theory would be that we are either at the beginning of species like us or Goldilocks planets, or we are at the end of
Or we're
that,
at the end
and
and we're restarting.
all the other species have died off, and the last few that are left are us, and we're babies, and eventually we will die off. Or we're all babies and we're at the beginning. Or the basic idea is we're actually just smack dab in the middle.
Right. Yeah, we're not new and we're not old.
Yeah, we're newer to us, but we're not
Yeah.
the newest planet. There's probably planets that have intelligent species that are still newer, and there's probably ones
Oh,
that are much older.
I want to live on an Avatar planet, bro.
Dude, who wouldn't? You know what I mean? Like that would be dope if we could actually get to those other galaxies and explore them, see them, see what they're like. And but we have, I mean, we can't even get to the galaxy next door. You know what I mean? We can't even get over there. And then to
Yeah,
find
no.
out that we're in that void, then we got to jump the void, whatever that is. Because think about that. Nothing in the middle. We can't see any stars, any planets, anything. It's just nothing.
Well, I was
How?
watching this video of this dude and he broke it down pretty succinctly. He said the nearest solar system or the nearest star to us is 30, I think he said 30 million light years away.
Yep.
And the fastest thing that we know that can travel is light. And the speed of light, uh, if you were to travel at that speed, you would break up in, or you would expand to like the size of the universe because of the friction. So we can't even travel at the speed of light. But if you were to be able to travel at the speed of light to the nearest star, it would still take you 30 million years. And that's how fucking vast and far away things are. So it's like,
Yeah.
if we have UFOs, I'm like tripping. Like, how the fuck did you get here? There's got to be a wormhole. There's got to be, I don't know. Maybe you just live right there and I just don't even know it. I don't know.
Well, that is the more prevailing thought, right? Because of the science that you just said. You know what I mean? Because of the fact that we are so far away from with our technology, they had either two things, had either been in this area the whole fucking time, so they live somewhere in our solar system or on our planet, or they have learned how to uh, move faster than light speed, which is the more kind of far out idea, but it's not impossible, right? And if we're
Yeah.
seeing crafts in space, are they crafts from here or are they crafts from somewhere else? Which means, yeah, you guys have traveled a long fucking way. What did
Yeah.
you just travel here to get here and stay, or did you travel here, in a day's time? What is your speed and technology? So either they've been here the whole time with us and we were just ignorant to the fact. Because I mean, think about it, bro. This is another thought that was brought up on Rogan, bro. With all these people that were abducted and things have happened to, would we have ever believed them anyway? You know what I mean? Like, even if every single person was telling the truth, as
Hmm.
skeptical as a society as we are, and our disbelief, even if every one of them was telling the truth, would we even believe it?
No,
Probably not.
no, I don't think.
So,
I don't think so. It'd be the same situation, yeah.
so yeah. So
Unless there
who's to
was
say?
proof, unless there was more proof that coincided with all these individuals. But even then,
Right.
we'd
Which,
still second guess it. We'd still
well,
second guess it.
that's the thing, right? I was watching, talking about one of the, I forgot what the name of the damn farm was, and I got to send you the video because we were listening to it at work. And it's like one of the farms that has the most like paranormal or, weird activity on it, where they see lights and things
Is
happen
it the
and blah blah
is
blah.
it the is it the
So,
Skinwalker Ranch?
yep, Skinwalker
Yeah, yeah,
Ranch, exactly.
yeah, yeah.
So,
Yep.
Skinwalker Ranch, dude, you've had scientists out there, you've had scholars out there, you've had more than one people who have lived on the property and have owned the property, and most of us are still skeptical. And we've had scientists that, have recorded all of this data and said, "Hey, man, what we got here is real, but we can't explain it."
Yeah,
The stories are crazy from Skinwalker Ranch, right? A giant wolf
we're
that
weird.
comes that
We're
that
weird
you
creatures
can,
ourselves.
right. Lights that show up. The wolf makes a smell happen, and that you feel
Yes.
anxiety when you see these orbs that come up to you, and they're on the
Hmm.
property. Like, I mean, what?
Yeah.
What? Uh, like, I got another one. We'll end it on this conundrum, and then we'll talk about it next episode. But
Okay.
what if what if what if all this stuff is not aliens? What if these are people who are bleeding in from another dimension? So we're thinking it's aliens, but it's actually, I mean, they still would be aliens, but they're not from outside of our space. All the phenomenons that we see, like Skinwalker Ranch or things like that, are somebody or one of the universes on the multiverse has figured out how to bleed into or come into another one.
So that's what I'm more inclined actually to believe is that these beings have somehow figured out a way to use their brains or use some technology to be able to not have to travel 30 million light years, but to be able to transport and just pop in and out of whatever reality they choose to do that with. So I'm more inclined to believe in that type of uh, uh, hypothesis, I guess you would say, than somebody traveling all those miles. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, what the basis and the understanding that we have right now, it would take them more than our lifetime to have ever got here, or
Mhm.
to come and go from the grocery store and back would be just impossible. But it is less likely that in another universe like ours, someone has figured out how to bleed through to the others, or just plain out travel in and out of the
Yeah.
others at will. Or
Yep.
maybe there's a few realities that know how to do this, and we're not there yet to join the multiverse.
The multiverse.
Yeah,
Time is not linear. Oh man,
right,
I feel like we
right,
can talk about this for fucking days. I'm about to get a
right.
Michio Kaku book and be prepared for the next episode.
I'm just saying, man. We'll get together and we'll record another episode. We'll put this bad boy out here soon, and we'll get it popping. Now, something I do want to mention to the listeners, because this will go out to our regular channel, is that we are live on stereo, and we're going to continue to do these. Stereo just added another feature, a new feature where we can have up to, I believe, 4 to 5 hosts on the thing. So we can now have more than me and
Oh,
you, and we can bring in a couple of our friends from maybe other podcasts and have a conversation. So I'm looking
Dude,
forward to
that would
doing
be
that.
so dope.
It would be sick, right? So,
Yeah, and I love this
uh,
stereo. Dude, this stereo app is great. This is fun. This is almost more
it's
fun than looking at you in your same
you're
room.
right. I mean, I love it, but I love the stereo app. I love the connectivity, and I love the kind of thing that it allows us to do. So I really
No,
urge our
yeah.
listeners to download the app, download the stereo app, and find us on stereo. We do have a link on the website where you can find our stereo link. Join us, ask us questions. You can join in this conversation. It allows you to put in recorded messages that we can play live on the show. So I'm urging all of our listeners and friends to join us live more often on stereo, and we can do a few more of these. Stay tuned, because pretty soon we're going to have some other podcasters or some other friends join us on the stereo app, and we'll have a more sprawling conversation.
Dope. I'm ready.
All right, man. So let me end it out here. Of course, I'm Superior Shrek on Instagram,
And I am Prolific Pappy on IG as well. Even hit me up
and
on Facebook, whatever.
you already
Anthony.
know. And say that again so they can hear you good.
Yeah, Anthony Lopez, Facebook, whatever. Follow it up. We're posting everywhere, and we want you to join in.
Yeah, join in, and we appreciate you listening. And we'll see you next time. All right, my guy. I'm out.
All right, Shrek. You have a good one.
You too. Peace.
Like that.